welcome to the show from Victim to Victory, my friends Archie St. Clair and Colin Curry. How are you all doing?
Good, how are you?
Excellent. Thanks so much for dropping by the show today. You have got an amazing story. I can't wait to dive into this. A friend of mine, a mutual friend of mine, and yours, a man by the name of Don Inns, contacted me and said, listen, you got to have Archie on your show. One, he's from Australia, and I'm thinking, that's awesome, because I have not had anyone from Australia on the show yet, so you're the first.
Good day, mate.
Good day. Did you like the Crocodile Dundee movie? I got to ask somebody from Australia.
Yes, yeah. It was pretty cool.
All right. Well, listen, I know that you've got an amazing story, and I guess your accident happened about the same year that my accident happened. My accident with the semi-truck was in 1994. Tell me what happened to you around 1994.
Well, flying helicopters out in the bush, or right in the middle of Australia, and the helicopter had my own business, and the company I leased the helicopters actually put motor vehicle parts in my helicopter. So on the way back from...
Okay, now let me clarify that a little bit. You're flying a helicopter, you're leasing this from a company,
Yep.
They're responsible for the repairs, and instead of putting helicopter parts, they put motor vehicle parts. Is that what you're saying to me?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so what happened?
Anyway, that bearing failed, which actually stopped the blades turning. Normally you can freewheel or auto rotate.
Right.
All that was taken away from me. So I was flying a helicopter, but it was like a plane without wings, so to speak.
How high do you think you were up?
Well, I actually come down to look at some cattle, just to check on them, the whereabouts and what they were doing there, and the welfare of them, which you do out in the bush.
Right.
It's a courtesy thing. Anyway, I was climbing up to, I was about 250 feet AGL, above ground level. And the helicopter just went bang, and I went straight in what we call auto rotation. You don't have time to think, you just got to do it.
Right.
And I went straight into auto, and I was pulled sideways, about 90 degrees. I was actually cruising about 65, 70 knots at the time, and it pulled me sideways, and then I did it again about 60 degrees, and I mean, I lost all rotor RPM.
So these blades,
they stopped
the bearings froze up and they just quit. So you're free falling.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind as you're hitting, heading towards the ground? I mean, are you thinking this is it, this is over, or are you in, autopilot? I'm going to get this.
I had no. You don't have time to worry about. You just got to get your job done.
Right.
And that's what you're trained to do. And so, I mean, I don't remember hitting the ground. I mean, God has a way to, bring you through that. And I still have no fear of flying at all.
Even today, you have no fear of flying?
Even today. And because I don't remember hitting the ground. But so apparently the helicopter, I put it down the way it's supposed to be anyway.
Right.
But it bounced, 20 feet, turned 90 degrees. But I mean, the whole thing was there was just a capsule, basically, the cabin left. And
okay, so you crashed with a helicopter. Are you close to anybody? I mean, or where are you? What happens? I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You're checking on cattle. I mean, does somebody know where you are?
Yeah,
What happens?
Yeah, I had I was training 2 other pilots that were living in my house. I mean, I teach people as well. But anyway, so they knew I should have been there, and then they sent out.
So how far out were you?
I was about 50 mile out.
So you're out 50 miles out in the bush, okay, and your helicopter crashes. How long were you out? Do you remember that? I mean, did you wake up before help got there, or what happened?
What happened? I was out for about an hour, and by the time I tried to piece it together, and my ex-wife was with me, and I remember her asking where we are, and I was 7 days prior to that, and I backed up until I realized, and then when I thought I was there was a bit of a foothill, and I thought it was, there was a road just over there, but it was back the other way a fair bit. So no, we're isolated in a sense, and it.
Okay, so how long was it before somebody actually got to where you were?
10 hours.
10 hours. Tell me about your injuries. What I mean, because you had to know this was a serious situation. What?
Well, when you're out in the bush, I mean, you are a firefight, rescue, and cattle, government stuff, but it was mainly because you're called out to do everything. Anyway, so when we hit the ground, her hand hit the console and just tore that out, her arm. And so when I come to, I knew I was pretty bad because there was actually, my feet would dangle out the front of the helicopter, and there was a piece of meat on the ground next to there and blood and stuff, and I seen a fly on it, and I thought, oh,
right,
that's it for me, you know.
Right.
And I knew my back was broke, because, you know, once you piece all the stuff together. And I looked over, and her bones were sticking out of her arm through the jacket. So I knew, you know, the biggest thing is killer is a shock. You know, after you survive
Right.
stuff, shock will set in. And so I reached over and pulled the jacket over so she couldn't see it.
Right.
And so that was sort of a lot, you know, helpful. But, you know, I thought one of us was going to be bleeding to death here. But
so you said it was like 10 hours before somebody got to you. What's going through your mind? I mean, because you're out in the middle of nowhere. Are you afraid? I mean, because I know nothing about the terrain. Are you afraid of animals showing up and things like that?
Well, that was the one big thing is like what I was frightened of. That, well, I tried to get the beacon out from under the transponder. We have a that goes on impact. It's designed to go off. Anyway, this one didn't.
Oh,
I mean, so for some reason or other, it just didn't go off. And it was under my seat. And because my legs had a broken arm, I had to get out of the helicopter.
With a broken back.
Yeah, and she had to reach down into the seat and get it. She had a broken back as well.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, so in a hip, but so she could move one leg. I was totally knew I was gone. Anyway, so she finally, I pulled myself out of the helicopter. Actually, when I grabbed hold of this little window up the side, when I grabbed hold of that, because our chests were pulled apart as well from the safety belt. I'm pretty hairy, and it looked like somebody shaved me with the impact of the safety belt. But I had to hold my chest together and to pull myself out. But when I did, my leg stayed in the helicopter.
Oh, wow.
So when I turned around, when I looked at myself, finally, because it's pretty cold there in the desert in wintertime. Right. And I had a leather jacket on, and it sort of pinned me down to, because a little bit of a foothill, not much. Anyway, when I looked around, my butt's here. It was just like somebody got me and just twisted me in half. And it just made me sick, and, you know, I knew I wasn't going to, you know.
And so what kind of animals are you thinking? I mean, what's out there?
Well, dingoes, and what happens in dogs in general, if they get, and a lot of other animals, they'll get smell of blood,
right.
And then they see, because I thought I was going to die, so they'd eat on me, right? And then they'd get in a frenzy because enough of them would come around, and there's a lot of dingoes out there, and then they would attack her. They would have ate her alive, basically. So that was.
So you're dealing with all of that kind of fear, and it's 10 hours before any kind of help gets there. Obviously, being out there by yourself, you've got to be calling on God. Yes,
I mean, you get a lot of time to think, you know. And
what kind of things are going through your mind in a situation like that?
Well, you know, I knew I was going to die, you know, but I'm trying to hang on as much as I can to save her. And by even just getting out of the helicopter, I knew I was going to do damage, you know, than what I am, you know. So, but you've got to.
If your legs are not moving, you've got to be thinking, oh, goodness, I'm not going to, if I do survive by some chance, I'm going to be paralyzed. And then worrying about her, and her back's broken, you got a bone showing, and you're worried about bleeding out, and so you're calling on God like, help me here.
You're not wrong about that. I mean, you get like I said, you get a lot of time to think about life and what you've done and what you haven't done, and what you would like to. But I mean, in that, I wanted to save her life because I knew I was gone. Right. So, but like I said, God had other plans for me, you know.
Right.
You know, thank you.
Yeah.